actually sleep in Buckingham Palace. We have a fascinating show coming up. For you, covering all the big royal talking points. Hello and welcome to Palace Confidential. I'm Jo Elvin, and this week my panel includes the Daily Mail's royal editor Rebecca English, the paper's editor-at-large Richard Kay, and an extra special guest this week in the form of Ailsa Anderson, who was press secretary to the late Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, no less, from 2001 to 2013. She'll be giving us her unique view on the royal family during some extraordinary moments. And thank you for joining us. We've got lots of interesting things to discuss this week, but before we get into it, I just want to remind you to like and subscribe to this program if you don't already. We're not far off 300,000 subscribers now, and we would love to get us there. Please help us. So if you don't already, please click that subscribe button. It costs nothing, but guarantees you will see each new episode of the show and other great royal videos. Also, if you do enjoy it, please share this show with your friends, family, and anyone you might think will enjoy it. This really does make a difference to us. Now, Rebecca, we had a major revelation at Buckingham Palace this week.
Yeah, and I know every week I keep on telling you how hard I work, but actually I had a really fun morning on Tuesday.
Now the truth comes out.
So I was invited to a really exclusive preview of Buckingham Palace's summer opening. It's when they throw open the doors to the estate apartments to let members of the public come in and have a look and see what all the fuss is about. And this year there's something very special. Unfortunately, it's sold out already, but they are opening the East Wing, which is really the kind of the heart of the hub for the family. So you get to walk down the really famous corridor in the East Wing, and then you get out to go into the centre room and actually see what they see when they stand there and go to look out of the balcony and watch all the people coming down the mall. I mean, the antiques, the decorations, it's fascinating. But for really the key moment is going into that room where they stand by the balcony and seeing that moment. It's fantastic.
How did you feel when you were standing there?
Well, what's great is they've got all these really kind of glamorous and priceless antiques, but they've got these kind of old net curtains hanging on the windows for security reasons. Yeah. So it's quite kind of a through the keyhole moment. And what's really surprising is the balcony itself, which I think when you look at the pictures and see it from the ground upwards, look massive, is actually really very narrow. And the balustrade is really low. And the kind of mum in me kind of had a heart-stopping moment when I think of, people like little Prince Louis standing there, and you think, oh, no wonder they're holding his hand so tightly, because there's a few trip hazards on that balcony.
Gosh. Well, Richard, when Charles became king, we were told that we could expect the palaces to be opened up more. So what do you make of this latest move?
I think he's doing exactly as he promised. I mean, he's opened up Balmoral Castle, which is something he wanted to do. And I think this is the start of a process. I imagine that in time we'll see visitors being invited into Buckingham Palace beyond the 8 or 10 weeks of the summer. People kind of forget now that the reason why Buckingham Palace was opened up to the public back in 1993 was actually a money-raising exercise to pay for the refurbishment of Windsor Castle. But it became an instant hit, a huge success, became instantly one of the most popular tourist attractions in the entire country, and sort of needs must, and they've kept it up ever since.
Well, Ailsa, welcome to the show, first of all.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hopefully not the last time. You know Buckingham Palace very well. Is this opening up more significant than maybe people realise?
I think it's extraordinary and a wonderful experience for people to have. So my office, as you look at Buckingham Palace, my office was on the right-hand side. So I used to sort of walk across the gravelled area to go into the palace. And I've been fortunate enough to stay the night at Buckingham Palace as well, significantly on the eve of Prince William and Catherine Middleton's wedding.
Oh my goodness!
And the atmosphere, Jo, was incredible.
Tell us what it's like staying there. Is it all the mod cons, or is it more net curtains? And
I would say the latter, to be honest. But I was very fortunate to have a very lovely room the night before their wedding, and just feeling the atmosphere, soaking up the atmosphere. and hearing the crowd all night basically chanting, it was electrifying.
I can imagine you didn't actually get any sleep.
No, yeah, but it was worth it. It was a seat on history, really.
Wow. Well, speaking of Prince William, Rebecca, we've had more developments on his homelessness project.
Absolutely. I was at a briefing earlier on this week about Homewoods, which is the big programme that he's introduced to eradicate homelessness in 6 key areas of the country within 5 years, which is an ambitious project, but a year in, and they've really already started to deliver. There's more than 100 homes that have been found for people, to stop people falling through the net in the first place. There's £1 million worth of starter packs from Homebase. They've had, I think, 800 people in on meetings to try and get together kind of private builders, private landlords, local authorities, charities, to really bring those people who are doing good work in each of their areas together. So this is a really big passion project for him. And he's given a speech today, I think he's delivering it probably as we're recording it, in which he says he's really confident that this big project of his will succeed.
He's really got the bit between the teeth, hasn't he, Richard? Now, obviously, the causes of homelessness are many, varied, complicated. It's something that successive governments can't even really fix. Cynics might say, choose something more winnable.
They might. I mean, I think it speaks to us a lot about what makes William's all about. It is an incredibly ambitious project, but when you've got something in the region of 300,000 homes being promised by the new Labour government to be built every year over the next 5 years, that gives you an idea of just what a huge scale this problem is. The one issue, which of course is never raised when we talk about homelessness and William's project, is how homeless numbers are driven up by immigration. And that is a real problem for not just for the royals, but for the country.
It's an interesting one, and we will watch this space and probably talk about William's speech next week, I would have thought. But Ailsa, we have also seen William watching the football in Germany. Apparently there was a football match on last night. Sorry, not very patriotic of me. Shouting loudly when England scored, and then we've had the pictures of him all hugging and smiles with Taylor Swift and shaking his tush at that as well. What do you make of this more unreserved royal that we've been seeing in him?
I think it makes him incredibly relatable. He's doing all the sort of the dad stuff and enjoying life as you and I would. And I just think that all the images that we've seen, especially at this Taylor Swift concert and the selfie that he's had with Taylor and the 2 children, I just think it just makes him relatable and normal.
But is it him naturally, or is this some concerted reinvention of the image?
I think it's him naturally. I think it is. The footage that wasn't taken by the media, it was by a member going to the concert. Showed him spontaneously enjoying himself. So I don't think this is deliberate. I think this is him as a down-to-earth, modern dad.
It's very, very difficult to stay still when Shake It Off is playing. Very difficult indeed. I think even
Did you happen to go to that concert, Jo?
I did go to, and I was
mentioned it.
I was. Donna, Angelina Jolie, Michelle Obama, Vanessa Redgrave all curtsy to the monarch, and I would certainly do the same. If I saw the Empress of Japan, Michiko, I would bow. If I met the Dalai Lama, but I've seen Madonna and Angelina Jolie, Michelle Obama, Vanessa Redgrave all curtsy to the monarch, and I would certainly do the same. If I saw the Empress of Japan, Michiko, I would bow. If I met the Dalai Lama, I would put my hands together and namaste. And if I had the great and joyful opportunity of meeting Catherine, Princess of Wales, I would happily curtsy. It's your culture and I respect it. You should cherish it. Very well thought out comment there. Thank you. Ailsa, as a member of the staff in the palace. Well, Tillman walked away from a lot of money to serve his country, whereas Harry turned his back on his country in pursuit of money. Ouch. He's not on the same level of Pat Tillman, a true war hero who made the ultimate sacrifice for the United States. Pat Tillman was all about loyalty, something Harry clearly lacks. It is truly shameful. Well, thank you as always for your comments. We do love reading them. Keep them respectful, and you might find yours read out here very soon. Well, let's get back to my panel now, and we'll stick with Prince Harry and this extraordinary row that just keeps rumbling on about this Pat Tillman Award that he's been giving at the ESPYs in America. Rebecca, sources close to him have been talking, haven't they? What have they said?
Yes, so some comments attributed to sources close to the Duke of Sussex appeared in the Telegraph, which is kind of quite sympathetic to the Sussex's cause, and they bemoaned the fact that the row had taken the shine off him getting the award. They were emphasising that to him, his big lifelong achievement has been Invictus and his work with the military, and intimated quite how hurtful he felt. But I'm not sure there'll be a great deal of sympathy for that.
Richard, this talk of Harry, quote unquote, not finding his niche conjures up an image of a prince who, despite that all he's said and done in the last couple of years, just still feels a bit lost.
It kind of feels like it's been that way for the last 4 years. I mean, he wanted to break away. He did break away. He turned his back on service, as we've discussed. But he's sort of umbilically linked, if you like, still to that same cause, because he needs to validate himself, or so it seems to me. And the one way he can validate himself is through his military links, and no one is criticizing those. He was a brave soldier. He did 2 tours in Afghanistan. But nevertheless, this constant reminder of his military connection grates with a lot of people who can't get over the fact that he chose to put financial gain and a break from royal tradition ahead of service.
I wonder if when he accepts this award later this evening in the States, he'll make reference to this controversy in some way.
I mean, if I was a PR advisor to him, I would probably say, look, make a point of saying I'm not accepting this for myself. I'm accepting this on behalf of the team behind Invictus. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what he does. But he clearly is still determined to collect the award. So,
what do you think, Elsa? You're obviously a communications professional, very experienced, and you know more uniquely than many people what the royal family deal with and how they have to operate. What have you made of the Sussexes' attempt at reinvention?
Well, I worked in the royal household when Prince Harry was serving in the army, before he'd obviously met the Duchess of Sussex. And the Harry that I knew was the media's darling. I mean, he was really, really popular. He was accessible.
Which interestingly is not how he kind of remembers it now.
Yeah, but I can only, from what I've heard, from what I've experienced, he was absolutely delightful and really easy to work with and charming, and also incredibly popular within the military. And I'm the daughter of a naval officer. I was married to a naval officer, The military who he worked with absolutely adored him. He was one of their comrades at arms.
Well, it's quite unfortunate then, isn't it, Rebecca, that Lord West, who is a former head of the Royal Navy, has also weighed in with his thoughts on this award controversy. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and he's a significant figure, First Sea Lord, and what he says carries weight. And he made very clear that he personally strongly disapproved of Harry collecting this award. And more importantly, he said it doesn't really go down very well in the military either, and said that he thought Harry should think very long and hard about ever doing it again. And I can imagine for Harry, that kind of criticism smarts,
But, awards in the military aren't unheard of.
No, and we discussed it on the programme, didn't we, last week, about members of the royal family wearing military uniforms and decorations and honours. But I think what has upset a lot of people is that he's accepting this for him. And as Richard said, someone who made very clear that he was turning his back on what he believed, what we see as service in this country. Do you remember Meghan made that kind of phrase, service is universal? And that went down badly with a lot of people, because of course when you're in the military, certainly in the UK, you are fighting for your sovereign and your country, and they take that oath very seriously. These are people willing to lay down their lives. They take that oath very seriously, and that bond with the British monarchy.
I get paid $25 an hour working from home just to answer messages on my cell phone. That's right.
Ailsa, you obviously worked with Harry pre-marriage, pre-Megxit, pre-Spare, the book. Do you find it difficult to square your memories of him with the image now?
Yes, I think I do. But again, I've been out of the household for a number of years now. I don't know. The only people who know what's really going on is him and his wife. I admire much of what he's doing now with the Invictus Games. I went to a sports reception where members of the Invictus Games organising committee were there, and they're full of praise for him. And I know the veterans are as well. So, as I said, the only people who really know what's going on are the couple themselves.
Do you have a particular favourite personal memory of that time with Harry?
I remember after the Diamond Jubilee concert, there was a reception at Buckingham Palace in the evening where all the people who'd taken part were there. And I've got a fantastic photograph of Prince Harry and myself, in fact, standing outside the ladies' loo, which is not so glamorous, but with our
keeping it real.
Yeah, absolutely chatting. I think you've seen that photograph.
I have.
Oh, I'd love to see that photo. Yeah.
So charming, and everyone wanting to talk to him, and him being incredibly engaging.
Oh,
I mean, I do think there is a dividing line between that time when you were working there and how they left, unfortunately.
yeah.
I mean, Ailsa is very discreet. I mean, we were talking beforehand and saying that she was the head of communications when Queen Elizabeth memorably pretended to, do you remember, to parachute into the Olympic Stadium in 2012 and didn't say a word to anybody, and just, I think, remember asking me at the time, "Are you watching the Olympic opening ceremony today?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And he was like, "Oh, good." I thought I still didn't know what she was going on about. And then there was this whole
some of our favourite pictures of her with the royal family.